As debate continues over the nuclear agreement with Iran, and the U.S. Congress considers whether to support or reject this deal, the potential positive impact of the deal for Israel and its Arab neighbors is widely ignored. Here today to speak with us about the economic and political breakthroughs of this Iran deal could have between Israel and the Arab states is Tal Keinan, CEO of Clarity Capital. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you've posited that this deal could actually be good for peace between the Israelis and Palestinians.
Well, I think there are scenarios. Without kind of staying with this is net good or net bad, let's focus on what is, and then what can we do to go forward. And the fact is, despite the fact that Israel seems to have been leading the charge against this deal, it has a lot of other opponents in the region, particularly the Arab states in the Gulf. So to the extent that there's a Sunni-Shiite divide emerging in the Muslim world, we have the opportunity, I think, to rethink the way the entire Middle East is aligned. By the way, the deal is only facilitated. I think this has actually been on the table for quite a while, since 2002.
So do you think this deal actually moves Israel closer to achieving this initiative?
I think it moves the Sunni Arab countries closer, and it's up to the Israeli leadership to decide whether to respond. But remember, there's been a Saudi peace proposal on the table since 2002, which has been reiterated multiple times without a real Israeli official reaction to this day. I would argue that the urgency with which that appeal is being voiced in the Arab world today has gone up significantly since this deal was announced. Fascinating.
So it should be interesting to see whether or not we hear any other rumblings on that peace initiative.
Yeah, I would argue that the next rumbling would have to be on our side. We've had as many rumblings as we'll probably get from the Arab side.
All right. Well, let's speak about the economies, both Israel's and future Palestinian state. What would the impact be of a deal, a peace deal?
Well, yeah, I said there's a primary impact in energy prices. So we all will benefit, all of the net importers of energy, which Israel still is, despite the gas fines, will be direct beneficiaries of that. And that's obviously not just a regional phenomenon, but it is relevant certainly for Israel, for Jordan, for Egypt. Obviously not for the net exporters of energy like Saudi Arabia and some of the Gulf countries. If this could be exploited to achieve a comprehensive peace deal, which I think today sounds extremely ambitious, but I'm not sure it needs to be. I think the potential for joint projects in the region is tremendous. Remember, you have a region that has barely grown in real GDP terms, ex-energy, in a generation.
What kind of projects could we see here?
Well, so I think tourism might head the list. Again, if we could achieve some sort of stability in the region, remember this is the seat of the three great monotheistic religions, and Israel in itself is at the hub of that, and we get less tourism here than the city of Berlin in a year, which is a shame, and that could be I think significantly enhanced by stability in the region and by some sort of cross-border cooperation. If you wanted to get more ambitious, think of the water projects. We have some of the biggest elevation disparities in sea levels in the world, which has great electric potential. This is not new. I mean, there are projects that have been on paper for decades now, but that require regional cooperation, certainly between Israel and Jordan at the very least, to implement. There are solar power projects. The fact that we have gas now in the region, a cheap source of gas, certainly in the Fertile Crescent, opens up all sorts of interesting agricultural opportunities. If you're going to be desalinating water at cheap prices, at great volumes, I mean, there's so much that could be done to turn this region into a breadbasket. Again, these things sound very, very ambitious from today's standpoint. Remember, this is a very, very quickly evolving region, and things can go.
Well, Israel is already planning to sell its gas to both Jordan and Egypt, but potentially if a deal is made, perhaps Lebanon or Saudi could get on board here as well?
Yeah, I think so. And again, think of the vast expanses of what is today barren land in this entire region. They're huge. The massive hydroelectric, gas, and solar power potential, wed with the fact that we have massive access to salt water, which, if desalinated, could really turn this region into a breadbasket. That is possible. That's all doable. The only thing in the way is politics at this point.
Interesting. So this Iran deal is expected to eventually decrease the price of oil further. How do you think that's going to impact a potential peace deal between Israel and the Sunni states?
Well, so I think it's one factor that is putting pressure on oil prices. It's not the only one. If you think about it, global demand growth has been waning in the last years. We are still in a very gradual global recovery from recession, and it's tenuous. And we might find ourselves in the next global recession before we fully recover from the last one. So there is a demand component here. There's also a big supply component, is in that you have an OPEC, which has been dysfunctional for a long time and not really operating as the cartel that it used to be. So Iran coming on with, let's say, up to an additional 1 million barrels of oil a day, is a significant factor, but it's not the only factor. But I would say that would put even more pressure on our kind of Sunni neighbors to try to achieve some sort of a deal that gives them economic diversification, not just oil.
Certainly, it will be a fascinating time to see if either party, the Sunni states or Israel, takes advantage of this unique opportunity. Thank you so much for joining us, Tal Keinan, the CEO of Clarity Capital. Very much appreciate it. Well, that wraps up our show today. Stay tuned every day from the Jaffa Port in Tel Aviv. I'm Natalie Ehrlich. Thank you very much for watching, and also be sure to follow us on our website. It's i24news.tv.